Welcome to the Wandiology podcast, where we learn and demystify astrology as a tool to gain a deeper understanding of our energetic signatures and our interactions with the world. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. His name is User, and he is the greatest music producer. I am not even joking, you guys. So, would you like to say hi to everyone?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Anytime.
It's an honor.
Anytime.
Yeah.
And if you guessed it, today we're delving into the Gemini archetype. So Jesse is a Gemini sun and moon. So Jesse, do you have some questions for me?
Yeah. I've always wanted to know, or if you could describe for me the Gemini sign and what it means, and
Yeah, it's a great question. So starting with, Gemini is an air sign.
Yeah.
And it's a mutable sign.
Yeah.
And what that means is, as a mutable sign, Gemini occurs at the end of spring. So, for example, today the sun entered Gemini, and we've talked about Aries and Taurus in the past. Yeah. Aries is the beginning of spring, Taurus is the middle of spring, Gemini is the end of spring. And so the mutability of Gemini suggests that this is a sign that's very adaptable. They can adapt to different environments, to different circumstances. Yeah. And the air sign part is the element, right? And air signs are known for being sociable, for being intellectual, and things of that sort. Yeah. So I hope that makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. And now when you talk about mutability, is that, like, does it make Gemini, the sign itself, does it make it, special in any way, or are all signs special in their own ways?
Yes, definitely. And I love that question because Gemini gets a ton of bad rep, and I hate it. And we all know Gemini are twins, and the rep that they get is the two-sided, and they are two-sided, but like that's their nature. They need to be able to adapt to different situations. And Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, right? The planet of communication, of coordination and things of the sort. And Gemini is actually at home. Mercury is at home, rather, in Gemini. Yeah. And so what that means is these are people who are very socially adaptable, right? So that two-sidedness that people talk about, it's really just a sign that is very good at adapting to different circumstances, right? You don't expect a Gemini person to be the same this minute and be the same the next minute. It'll never be like that. So people need to get used to Geminis being shifty. It's a good thing. It's a personality. And they need to be that way in order to express the energy. Yeah, so that's what I find special about Gemini.
Okay. Yeah, now that you're talking about the two-faced thing, today I was thinking about it, like, it's not, okay, how I feel for myself is like, sometimes I'll be super self-conscious about, maybe my music or something. Then, like, the next moment, I'm like super confident.
Right.
Yeah, so is that like what it means?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what planet rules over Gemini? You said Mercury. Are there any other planets that influence Gemini?
So Gemini does really well. Mercury does really well in Gemini, right? Yeah. And Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Yeah. But because we're talking about Gemini, Gemini has a lot to do with communication. Like, this is a sign that rules kind of over communication, somewhat technology, things to do with maybe siblings, short distance travel, so like local communities and stuff. All that falls under Mercury, right? And by extension, Gemini. So these are people who are able to navigate the surroundings very easily because it's a sociable sign. They're able to take on very vast different perspectives. But the essence of Gemini is not really to understand. It's, what is this? Okay, what is this? It's like, it's very nervous energy. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
It's very like, oh, curiosity. But then the curiosity burns out and it's onto another thing, another thing. And so like the key for Gemini is just to be able to understand, and that's why its opposite sign is Sagittarius, the sign of assimilating information and using it for a deep understanding, right? And that's where Gemini struggles, is to stay put. It's very hard for Gemini people to stay put. Like, you're here, you're there. It's very spontaneous, it's very nervous, and it's like good, bad, but aren't we all have that duality? Yeah.
Okay, so you said that because for myself, sometimes I start different things, then I lose interest. But when I started that, the fire's all the way up.
Yeah,
then after some time, it kind of burns out. So is there a way to like manage that?
Yes, I love this question. So for Gemini, the thing is accept boredom. Like, literally be bored. Stay in that feeling. And I know it's very hard to tell a Gemini like not to move on to the next fun, and because these are Mercury ruled people, these are very brain ruled people, so it's like, is this exciting? Okay, yes, we're here. Indulge. Once like the plateau, the bottom kicks in, it's like, okay, no, I don't want to do this.
I'm done.
But it's, you have to get used to that, the low of the activity. That's the way you'll help yourself. That's the way you'll be able to assimilate information and not just have like a burnout of activities that you're doing.
And finish things. Because I'm dealing with that at the moment. Like I'm working on some projects, but when I'm starting the project, it's so exciting. But when it's a serious project and you have to put in a lot of time into it, then it gets, it reaches that plateau phase. But now I know, what to do. And how to navigate the situation. So I have another question. Like, what part of the body does Gemini rule over?
Gemini rules over, could you guess?
Like the loins. No?
That's
Wait,
the line.
the heart.
That's
mind.
Leo.
The mind.
But it rules over the hands.
Okay.
Like the twin analogy, the hands, right? And because Gemini, Mercury, it's very, think intellectual communication, literary, like, writing, reading, that's Gemini. And these people are very avid readers because they're able to assimilate information very quickly, very quickly. And so that's why Gemini rules over the hands. So everything that involves writing,
Like
reading.
Sculpting, reading.
Exactly. Anything that involves the hands, Gemini will excel at. Yeah,
that's good because, I didn't even know. See, because I don't do much with my hands. So,
really?
Yeah.
You do everything with your hands.
Okay, actually, but like now I know to, try out more skills in that,
Yes.
in that regard.
Absolutely.
Okay. And now that the hands are the body parts which rule over the Gemini sign.
Yes, the Gemini rules.
Okay, over the hands. So like these energy things with the hands. So now that I'm a Gemini, can I do those things easier?
Yes.
Okay.
Because your energy is in tune with like things to do with the hands, and that's why like a lot of Geminis that I've met do very like technical things, technical work, and they excel at it. Like even producing, right? Yes, you have an ear for music because you're a Taurus rising, right? And that like is about music and sound, but also producing is a lot to do with
the hands,
coordination, right?
True.
And that's Mercury.
Okay.
Basically, so even think about playing instruments. You'd probably be very good at mastering an instrument, things of the sort. So anything to do with your hands, yes.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Okay, so I have another question. Like, how does Gemini energy manifest through the planets, like the different planets, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter? Yeah.
Beautiful. So we have a Gemini sun. You're a Gemini sun.
Yeah.
Kanye West is a Gemini sun. First of all, Kanye West follows Jussie. I just had to say that because that is like so cool.
Yeah.
But like, yes, so Gemini suns, of course, just by mentioning those people, Naomi Campbell, Donald Trump, these are very confident people, first of all. Because I think something that is not talked about with Geminis is the sheer audacity of Gemini. Like, they are the most audacious sign. I know, and I love that. I love it. So when you have the sun is your individuality at your core. Like, who are you? And I told you, like, the sun of Gemini, the Gemini sun rather, has a lot to do with communication, right? And so these are very, very intelligent speakers, right? The people who at the core are very intellectual people, right? This is because they're able to assimilate information, or rather to dive into different things at the same time. So they're very much like multitaskers. Like, you'll be doing one thing, you'll be doing another thing, you'll be doing another thing. The key is to just follow through. That's the only like caveat, because when you have all this energy and you're using it to do different things, then the follow through for these different things might be a bit tough. Right? So Gemini sun individuals are just very intellectual, very creative. I find that just like the most creative people, when they set their minds, because it's a lot to do with the mind, to something, they will achieve it. Right? And that's the thing. If you're a Gemini and you're finding it hard to center your energy, you just have to try and do things that help you follow through. Like, have people to keep you accountable. Have people to get you out of your head as well. Because I know, like, you're a Mercurial because Mercury rules over Gemini. But I'm also a Mercurial because Mercury rules over Virgo. And I know, like, we get in our heads a lot and we can tend to stay there. So the key is just to have people to hold you accountable. Have people to tell you, okay, now we need to follow through. Now we need the action. We don't need to be here in our heads this whole time. Right. So that's kind of like the sun in Gemini. They're charming, they're witty, they're very like the jokes, the smart mouths. And they're funny as well. Yes, straight up people are very funny.
It's facts. And then, okay, so the sun, that's the sun.
Yes.
And then Mercury, you told me about Mercury.
Yes.
So does Venus play any part of the Gemini sign, or?
Yes, actually. But I would like to move to the moon before Venus.
Okay.
Because order is very important for me. So, so the moon, which is a luminary in Gemini, just gives you overall. The moon is to do with emotions and like your daily habits. So what do you do on a daily basis? That's the moon. And then having a Gemini moon, I know someone in the Gemini moon, shout out Waxy. I love her. These are people who intellectualize the emotions, right? Geminis struggle a little bit with the emotional part, especially if you don't have water signs. It can be very hard. Like, these people try to really make like an objective analysis to how they feel, to how other people feel. So sometimes it's very hard for a Gemini moon to sit with their emotion and just be in the mess of it and cry. No, they'll be like, okay, I'm feeling like this because this is what makes sense. And I'm going to compartmentalize my emotion like this. right? And so the key for them, I think, is to just really sit within their emotions and try like meditative things, therapeutic things, and things that appear soft, things that don't appear to have any rational meaning, because Gemini energy is very rational. Like, does this make sense? No. So, and a lot of emotions don't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's that. There's also a tendency to indulge in a lot of reading, a lot of writing, but they could also indulge in like low forms of communication. So that could be gossip,
Yeah.
blogs, like things that just are giving mess
Yeah.
on the lower form, right? On the higher form, it could be philosophy, it could be higher education.
Yeah.
Like these are people who scholarly, they're great, right? So the key is to just make sure that tendency for gossip is,
It's
you check it.
It's balanced.
Yeah, it's balanced. Shout out to my mom. She's a Gemini moon as well. Yeah. So, and my dad as well.
Yeah, that's
oh my
crazy.
God,
That's crazy. Yeah.
With Gemini moons, but yeah.
Okay.
That's the moon in Gemini.
Okay. And so when you talk about the emotional aspect, are there any like dangers or any things I should like anything I should look out for within myself as a Gemini?
Especially because you're also a Gemini moon.
Yeah.
I think just really know when you need to rationalize your emotions and know when you don't. Because sometimes even being overly emotional is like, it's not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's just having that discernment to know, okay, will this emotion help me here?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then reevaluate, because you're very good at reevaluating your emotions. Some of us can't do that. We just feel the things and it's instincts. But for you, you have that. Air moons have minds of like, okay, we're feeling this, but it's not helpful, so we'll keep it aside for now and deal with this another time. But also sometimes don't escape your emotions. Yeah. Don't be an escapist.
Yeah, that's funny because like today morning I was speaking with a friend of mine about, having faced my inner child or, just like talking to my inner child. But it's something which I haven't done. So as someone who has a Gemini moon or who's in Gemini moon, I don't know the right wording, but like, is there a way to like, like focus on the emotions because it's something I'm not used to?
Yes.
So are there like methods I can use?
Absolutely. Oh my God, these questions are so good. You see what I'm talking about? Like, they're so accurate. What you're asking is so like, I don't know, it's mind-boggling, but yes, I would suggest journal.
Okay.
Yeah, we said Gemini rules the hands, and if you need like an outlet, a therapeutic outlet, and you don't want to talk to people, obviously, about your emotions, or if you do, you can do therapy, but I will suggest journaling. Just every day, write down how you felt in that day. And try that every day for a month and see how that helps you kind of like have a checklist of what you're feeling. Yeah,
that's genius. I'll start today.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for because those are things I didn't know, but they make so much sense because it's like having a map to myself, to my being. So thank you, I appreciate.
Anytime.
So like the next planet is Venus. So does it like influence the Gemini sign in any way?
Yes, absolutely. So we did talk about Mercury being the ruling planet of Gemini, so I won't get into that because it's just giving intellectual, avid reader, writer, writing. Those could be your callings. And Gemini is at home here, so it's very comfortable. It knows its way around. I mean, Mercury is at home in Gemini, so Mercury knows its way around, right? So moving on to Venus in Gemini, and shout out to My partner
Yeah.
is a Gemini Venus, and oh my god,
Yeah.
shish,
Yeah.
like it was a very difficult placement for me to understand initially, because a Gemini Venus wants to explore.
Yeah.
A Gemini Venus wants to be stimulated mentally
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
even before any physical stimulation.
Yeah.
So this is someone you need to keep up with intellectually,
Yeah.
right? So for example, if your partner is a Gemini Venus, yeah, the hobbies and your hobbies have to intersect at some point, right?
Yeah.
The things they really love to indulge in, you have to like also meet them somewhere, right? Because I entered like probably my relationship being, I'm a Cancer Venus, so I'm very romantic. Like for me, it's the old school, like pull up with the whip, with the roses, with the yo. I really met someone who had like a different mindset when it came to romance and when it came to actually showing up for me. And so for me, what I've experienced with a Gemini Venus is it's very everyday, like they show up every day, and they also challenge your mindset when it comes to things. So they're not dogmatic when it comes to notions of love. Like you'll wake up, do something spontaneous, you'll have spontaneous conversations, you'll talk about literally everything, which I really enjoy. Like now they're so into astrology and human design, and I'm just left there like, okay. And,
wow.
And all of a sudden it's like, okay, I am reading this book, and I'm like, okay, since when? But it's very refreshing because you're always on your toes, right? And so this is someone who just let them be. They're expansive and you can't tame their energy. I have this analogy of when you put a bee in a glass jar and that bee is constantly just trying to get out. That's Gemini Venus energy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just that constant.
Exactly. They're just
motion.
Exactly. Just buzzing. One idea, one. And then these are people who cannot hold one thought for more than 1 minute.
Yeah, that's true. So ADD, ADHD.
I don't know if it's yes, Gemini. I don't like associating like mental illness to signs, but it's giving very much ADD, ADHD vibes.
Yeah.
But it's really like after one thought, like we're talking about, okay, CG Arsenal did this and this. The next minute it's okay, Quentin Tarantino did this. The next minute is okay, what are we doing tomorrow? Okay.
Kessie Chapo.
Yes, Kessie, it's okay, what are we eating? Like it's so and so me, I can hold a thought. Like I can hold a thought for days, for weeks.
Yeah.
So it also like just it's very refreshing because it's very light and airy.
Yeah.
Quite literally. And so I really enjoy Gemini Venus placements. I think they have a bad rep of being cheaters. Like that's how it can manifest as well, because they want to taste everything. Yeah. And but like the grounded version of it is just someone who will help you take your mind off things constantly.
Because there's always like a refresh and a reboot and everything.
A reboot. Constantly.
Okay. So I've always wondered, how come there's no like Gemini Earth or something? Like, or Sag Earth or Pisces Earth?
Because earth signs are just the three, like...
Yeah, the elements.
Yes. Or like you're wondering why the earth is not considered a planet.
Yeah.
It's because in astrology, our vantage point is from earth.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So everything is happening to earth.
Towards us,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we don't have Gemini Earth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then now Mars.
Yes.
Does it influence in any way?
Yes, absolutely. So Gemini Mars, shout out to Spicy.
Yeah.
I'm airing y'all out, by the way, but
on the podcast.
on the pod. But Gemini Mars is these are very intellectual, sociable people, right?
Yeah.
Like these are people who, like my friend, just as I mentioned, she's a TV personality, but she's so good at what she does, and she's so good at being social. Like I suck at being social.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel like I do, because for her it's like social queen on steroids.
steroids, yeah.
Yeah, like it's so, oh, she can talk to anyone, she can hold conversation for
days.
so long.
The battery's
For
not
days.
running
Yeah,
out.
it's not running out.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, okay, we can talk for an hour, but after this hour, I need to recharge for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are people who are very intellectually adept. They're amazing at socializing and taking in ideas, right?
Yeah.
The issue is usually sticking to the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is a theme that will recur with Gemini. The issue is always just the follow through. And that's something that they have to teach themselves. Is just, okay, if I have one thing, I need to not let the next exciting thing take me away from my unfinished projects.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
But apart from that, they know how to assert themselves outwardly.
Yeah.
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 That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Mars and Jupiter.
Yes. Look at you.
Yeah, like it's just the planet placements. But yeah, like does it influence? You know, it's big, so does it have like big effects?
Yes, it's big.
Let's say dogs.
Yes, like
Well,
quite literally.
Yeah, it's
Because
crazy.
Jupiter is the largest planet, so obviously, like, it's the planet of abundance, and so Jupiter in Gemini brings like an abundance of ideas, of intellect, of your social circles are expansive, right? And it's just about just blessing your ability to communicate, to share your ideas, right? But because Jupiter is about assimilating ideas and understanding them, and Gemini is about just experiencing all the ideas it can, it clashes a little bit, because Geminis kind of have to teach themselves to stay and understand, right? But them, they just want to know, okay, this is a glass, I can use it to drink, okay, this is like that, right?
Quick steps.
But yes, quick steps. But for Jupiter and like Sagittarian themes, this is a glass, okay, where was it made, okay, why does it do what it does, why is it shaped the way it's shaped, right? And you have this like layer of understanding that you get with Jupiter, right? And so the key here is just, again, your staying ability needs to be worked on. Meditation techniques, learn to just be grounded. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's crazy. I don't know if my signs, if I have any like Jupiter placements. Is that how you say it?
Yes, you do. You have Gemini placements. Everyone has a Jupiter in something.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But now it's the sign that you have. So the placements are the signs.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have Gemini placements.
Okay. So now that you're talking about
Jupiter.
Yeah, like Jupiter, and like being, like that depth of information and everything. Like how does it play out if I'm interested in many things, but then I'm also trying to seek depth in many things at the same time? Is that like something that's good, or is it a bad trait?
I think it's both. And I love the questions you're asking, because you're like kind of like a novice is someone who really hasn't delved into a thing, right? It's a novice. And like you're just asking very intellectual things that people usually don't ask. So I like that. The key for you is to not take a workload that you can't see through. Like, trust me, there's time. You see this, because Gemini is also very prone to anxiety. Like, you feel like you have to do so many things at the same time. But you don't. You don't. And that's what I want you to understand. Like, have 2-3 projects and say, okay, when I get past 4, listen to your body as well, and kind of like have a checklist. When I get past 4, I get really tired. But when I'm at 3, okay, I can cope with this. I can kind of multitask with these 3. So do that. Make sure to finish them. Move on to the next 3.
Like that.
Move on to the next 3. But when you try and take 6 projects and then leave them all half-baked, how is that aiding your growth?
It even makes me anxious.
Yeah.
vary. So yeah, that makes sense. So that's to be this order behind it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what
Absolutely.
Jupiter brings to the table. Okay. Then now after Jupiter, it's Saturn with the rings.
Yes, with the
So
rings.
does it do anything? Do the rings do? I don't know.
So Saturn is the planet of it's a planet of limitation.
Yeah.
Right? So when you talked about order, this is where Saturn comes in, because Jupiter kind of expands. So if you have maybe Jupiter in Gemini, you might have like a huge social circle, like huge intellect, you're writing many books. But now Saturn in Gemini comes and limits.
Yeah.
So it tells you, okay, Jupiter, you want to learn about all these things, but what are the strategic like measures you're putting in place to make sure that you understand this information? Right?
Yeah.
Where is the communication that you're giving out or assimilating? Is it harmful to you? Is it harmful to others?
Yeah.
Are you gossiping too much? Right? Because gossip is also under Gemini because of all the chatter, like talk.
Yeah.
And so Saturn comes and tells you, okay, we need to rein it in.
Yeah.
And we need to decide, okay, what communication is good communication? What coordination is good coordination? Because also you have to make sure that you're not doing too many things, and then you can be doing too many things and then you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And not just emotionally, even physically.
Yeah.
Right? And so Saturn comes and reins in that energy and tells you, okay, we need to focus and put boundaries and limitations on this so that we can actually achieve
something
tangible results.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate, I'm learning about, myself. And it's making sense because these are things I deal with every day.
Yeah.
But, with astrology, now I'm coming to learn, it's a map.
Yeah.
So even if you're going through like a chaotic period in life, you're like, now I see, what this means and,
Absolutely.
how to handle it. And yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I appreciate. So the next planet is Neptune.
Yes, Neptune.
Yeah, so how does Neptune influence Gemini, or how does Gemini influence Neptune?
You were right the first time. Neptune influenced Gemini. And Neptune is a planet of romance, illusions, deception. Basically, it's the planet of imagination.
Yeah.
Right? So anything you conjure up in your mind. And for me personally, I think this is a great placement for like prolific writers, people who come up with fiction and storylines in their head, because Gemini is intellect, right?
Yeah.
Intellectual. And so these are like great storytellers, great talkers, and people who imagine great things, right? They have great ideas. And they also are great communicators. So they not only have the idea, but they know how to communicate the idea. Yeah. So that's what Neptune in Gemini gives.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. Because, like for me, I find it easier to write a book than to read a book.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. Is that because of...
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe because the attention span while reading is a bit, here and there.
Yeah.
But yes, writing could actually be something that comes easier to Geminis.
Yeah, because you spoke about the hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that you're trying different things, going into depth. So, okay. And Uranus.
Yes.
What is it? Yeah. Yeah.
The planet.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. Uranus, the planet of innovation.
Yeah.
Rebelliousness. It's kind of like this rebel energy.
Yeah.
Anything that's against the grain, right?
Yeah.
And in Gemini, so you get a very different thinker, someone who thinks away from the status quo, away from the dogma, right? So you get these people of just very rebellious in the way they think, the way they formulate their ideas, the way they communicate their ideas. So these like are the weirdos
Yeah.
of, I don't know, the community or the peers, because
Yeah.
the people who really like think outside the box,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like that's a really nice placement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think actually Uranus will be entering Gemini in 2025. It's in Taurus right now, but I think the trends will be more based on writing, reading, technology, communication, and things of the sort.
Okay.
Yeah, so massive shifts in topics to do with that, with what I mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, and I have a question. It's outside the other questions, but like, where are we like as a planet at the moment?
Like,
Which sign?
so we have right now Jupiter is in Taurus. Jupiter just entered Taurus.
Yeah.
So, do you want all the planets or just
Like for this period?
for this period we're
for
at?
us, yeah.
For this period we're at, of course, the Sun and the Moon are in Gemini. Where is Mercury? I think in Taurus, if I'm not wrong. Venus is in Cancer. Mars is in Leo. Mars just entered Leo.
Yeah.
Jupiter is in Taurus. Saturn is in Pisces. Uranus is in Taurus. I think Neptune is in Pisces, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And Pluto is in Aquarius.
Okay.
Yes. I don't think it's gone back to Capricorn yet, but I think it's retrograde in Aquarius. Have I not mentioned something? I've mentioned everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the planets are right now in the sky.
Okay. Yeah. So Pluto.
Pluto.
Yeah, is it a planet or how does it work? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so
Yeah.
those the big people at NASA declassified it as a
them
planet.
guys,
Yes, them guys.
Yeah.
But in astrology, it's still a very powerful planet.
Yeah.
And it rules over death, transformation, it rules over power structures, it rules over very scorpionic matters like sex, taboos, the occult, but mostly just very, very deep transformation, right? And so this is like a planet that kind of shows you the power play, especially like right now in the world. For example, right now Pluto is in Aquarius, and there's a big shift in technology with AI. Like AI just came out of nowhere, and
literally.
Literally, and it's like this big shock to people, but it's like that's Pluto. It's very like shocking, sudden changes. Okay, sudden changes are Uranus, but Pluto is just that big, very massive change, right? And so Pluto in Gemini gives you a lot of intellect, a lot of power when it comes to your communication. Your power is in your communication. Your power is in your intellect. Your power is in your sociability, right? So take advantage of those things, but not to the point where you're oppressing other people, right? So you don't get to be the only one who communicates in the room because you have this very powerful placement, right? And so Pluto in Gemini is just that, and learning how to make that power stay, because Gemini is very just airy here, there. Just learning to kind of have stable structures enough for this power to work, right? And to have an effect, rather. Yeah. So that's Pluto in Gemini.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
So like I've learned a lot, to be honest.
You have?
Yeah, I have. Because, I don't really know much about astrology in depth. Well, I talk about it with my girl.
Yes.
But, like I'm still learning. So I've learned so much today.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate, you for your knowledge and for your time. And for having me on the podcast there.
Thank you. And I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yes, celebrities with Gemini placements.
Yeah.
We said Kanye West, we said Donald Trump, we said Naomi. Who else?
I think Kendrick.
Oh my God, Angelina Jolie. Just the most like magnificently talented.
Azealia Banks, yeah.
Oh my God, Azealia Banks.
Yeah.
My problematic queen. I love her.
Yeah.
She's so talented.
Yeah.
But like you see, these are people who are insanely talented, insanely opinionated.
Yeah.
Because that's that Mercury at work. Mercury is just like, I know this.
Yeah.
Right? I know. I analyze.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just, yeah. Can I think of any other Gemini placements?
Maybe.
Oh my God, my grandma.
Oh yeah.
The OG Gemini.
The OG.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. A real one. Oh my God, she's so hardworking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to my grandma.
Yeah. So wait, dealing with Geminis, is there like a common trait between Geminis? Okay, I know it's there, but like, is there something you've observed and noticed for yourself?
Yes. Actually, before I answer that,
Yeah.
I've remembered another Gemini, my auntie Waithera.
Yeah, shout out.
I
Yeah.
had to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, common trait between Geminis is audacity.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
The audacious.
Very.
Any Gemini you meet, no matter how reserved they are,
Yeah.
they move with an energy where it's like, you know,
yeah.
what are you telling me?
Yeah.
They're just audacious, and I love that about them.
Yeah,
Whether it's like the worst Gemini you've ever met or the best.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I've seen it in myself as well. So
Yeah. Definitely. You're like that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
Easy.
yes. So that brings us to the end of the Gemini Archetype podcast. And would you like to share your socials?
Yeah. So my socials are user music. You spell it as UZRR and music. Yeah, no spaces. Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, 'cause I make music and videos
Period.
on OnlyFans. No.
Yeah.
No, but yes, it's SoundCloud and YouTube and Spotify, and yeah, those are them other ones.
Yes. We're actually going to use one of your soundtracks for this episode,
nice.
so please check him out.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Wandiology on all socials, and the Wandiology podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode, which is Gemini Through the Houses. Bye.
Boop.